Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press. Thank you so much for your continued patience. But as you can see, our first presenter is the Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Economic Development and the Youth Economy, also Minister for Justice and National Security. Today is not an open mic. Is it, PM? We have. Okay, so the Prime Minister will make a few remarks, and after which, of course, you will ask your questions. Prime Minister?
Yes, good morning. Today I want to announce a program in the continuing education, the education upliftment of our country, and the government will implement a project called Pathways to Inclusion, Strengthening Systems and Expanding Opportunities for Learners with Special Needs. The government of St. Lucia holds quality education for all as a high value and essential priority. To this end, the government has set itself the mission of enabling all learners to realize their full potential within an education system that facilitates affordable. The project objectives. 1. Expansion of equitable access to targeted special needs education in St. Lucia. 2. Rehabilitation and retrofitting of some schools and spaces at strategically located mainstream schools to facilitate equitable physical access for all persons. 3. Procurement of information and communication technologies, ICT, assistive devices, and other learning resources to ensure modern, inclusive, and equitable learning environments and support for special needs education. Training teachers to facilitate the best practice of inclusive teaching and learning environments, and also provide opportunity for observing and learning best practices in inclusive education. Investigation of the impact and outcomes of special needs education on users and beneficiaries. Upgrade of the special education needs online portal for greater efficiency, utility, and security. The project scope. As I said, construct additional classrooms to increase student capacity, facilitate training programs in support of inclusive education and case managers for teachers and secretariat of the special education units, procure educational resources and adaptive equipment to support students with special needs in inclusive and specialized settings, enhance and upgrade special education online portal for student referral and data management, and resource a special education unit to serve students, clients, and their parents. Conduct research into the effectiveness and impact of local special education projects. We expect the project to benefit as follows: an increased number of students with special education needs accessing special school placement in keeping with the recommendation emerging from the assessment, a number of students recommended for the Learning and Intervention Program of special schools will participate in this program at a school in close proximity to their own community than the nearest special school. Both students with and without special education needs will benefit from inclusive education experiences as affirmed by numerous peer-reviewed studies and research findings worldwide. Schools that have experienced decline in student enrollment due to national population trends will experience increases in student intake, allowing for better utility to be made of the infrastructural resources. Teachers will have access to more efficient and targeted tools to provide modern and innovative teaching and learning experiences for students, particularly those with special needs. Confidential student information on special needs online portal will be within the remit of the Ministry of Education rather than stored on the servers of a private company. Teachers, medical doctors, and members of the special education unit will have a more satisfying experience with a faster, more versatile database and referral system that is able to generate statistical data for reporting on demand. The special education unit will be better resourced to give clients a positive experience when they attend assessment activities. In the first instance, the government will invest $1 million in that project. Thank you on this special. We think it's a very important program because there are many students who just go through the system, and these students have special needs. They're not identified as early as they should, and they just go through the system and end up just going through the system, but in effect, not being adequately prepared for the world, or not receiving the education that they ought to deserve or they could have had if their special needs was identified. And you notice this is how the government's progressing as far as education is concerned. We're going to be basically at the base level, we're going to have universal early childhood education. We've started by assisting non-government sponsored private schools, early education centers, and assisting with the fees for these students. At the other level, we've paid facility fees for all students. Next level, we paid for CXC subjects for students doing the CXC. Then we assist nurses. At the university level, we have a one university per household program, which is started by first-generation scholarships. And yesterday at Monroe College, several scores of students from the first-generation scholarship program of the government graduated from Monroe College with first degrees. And now we are going at special needs. So the entire education system in the country is being looked at. So you can have, then I forgot. Then we have the TVET schools, the 4 TVET schools, where we are again seeing how we can deal with students who have skills that may not be in what we think, that they have special skills in arts, in culture, in etc., which we are developing through our TVET schools. So the government is at all levels of the education processes in the country trying to help everyone, so you can have we can have a population that is trained, that is educated, both to be better citizens and to get employment in the jobs that become available, locally and globally. I'll take questions on this and any other topic that you may wish to add. I said that investment is $1 million investment in the first instance.
Good morning, Prime Minister. Just shifting gears slightly. Over the weekend, CARICOM would have issued a statement in light of the issues prevalent in our waters as it relates to the U.S. and its what some have described as extrajudicial killings. We would have seen a statement from CARICOM reinforcing their stance that they want the region to remain as a zone of peace. But just from you as the Prime Minister, observing what's going on, what's your take?
Well, as you know, St. Lucia sanctioned and agreed with the CARICOM statement. We believe that the region should remain as a zone of peace. Because you see, the region is not known for centuries for wars, etc. So we hope that good sense prevail, and what we urge is dialogue. We urge dialogue and consultation. As I said, we do not want our region to be any battleground. We think that we've solved our problems by discussion, by sharing of information, but the government of St. Lucia is firmly against narco trafficking and the trafficking of illegal drugs and arms and ammunition. We think that we are firmly against it, and it will take all steps locally and regionally to ensure that within the law, we stamp out narco trafficking and the trafficking of guns and ammunition. But having said so, we think our region should remain a zone of peace and all actions should be properly coordinated and discussed within CARICOM. And this morning, there's a meeting of the regional security system in St. Lucia, and we enforce that. But we think our region should remain a zone of peace. And the CARICOM statement, St. Lucia fully aligns itself with the CARICOM statement.
We've also seen the U.S. reach out to various countries within CARICOM to, I guess, extend surveillance and these sort of things. Have, in any form or fashion, have they tried to reach St. Lucia? Are they in dialogue with St. Lucia with regards to that?
No, we enjoy excellent relations with the U.S., but we've not been approached on that issue.
Okay. And even on the CARICOM front, facing that issue, there is clear fragmentation in the sense that you have one member state that is firm on their position and is unwavering. How does that affect the dialogue in terms of CARICOM coming together when you have this one member state in Trinidad that, may not see the issue as the rest of the region sees it?
Well, you see, let me make it clear that each of the states in CARICOM are independent states that have their own local and foreign policies, independent countries. Each country reserves the right to take its position on matters as they see affects the individual country and its people. We'd prefer if all the states had taken certain positions when it comes to foreign policy. But as you know, that is not the case. But we still have excellent relations. As you know, the relationship between Taiwan and China. Most of the states have relations with China. 3 of the states have relations with Taiwan. But we still work together as foreign policy is concerned. Each country reserves the right to take the position that it feels will benefit its citizens the most. In this regard, Trinidad has taken the position that they feel will benefit its citizens the most, but CARICOM has taken a position, and St. Lucia is aligned to the CARICOM position, but St. Lucia continues to respect the views of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, and St. Lucia continues to enjoy excellent relationship with the government of Trinidad and Tobago.
I'm not sure if I missed it, the proposed commencement of the rollout for the issue at hand.
Okay, you mean the special education
Yes.
incident? Well, as you notice, the concept paper has been prepared, and we are identifying the schools, the teachers, and almost we hope to start early next year so you can roll into the next budget period.
Shifting a little bit, planned launch did not come off yesterday. Do we have a sense of when it's going to
2nd
happen?
of November.
2nd of November?
Yes.
When would that push back the date for the general elections?
The date still holds elections on Monday.
Last week, we would have seen the signing of 2 agreements for the expansion of the Castries or the Shock to Grosile highway. We got the statement, but we hadn't heard from you. Obviously, this has been a very kind of teething project that we haven't seen able to get underway. But with the loans being secured, just your thoughts and perspectives on that.
Well, these loans are coming a few years too late. As you know, the Curative and CAFEN had already approved this loan for the expansion of the highway. A document was prepared. The loan had been approved by CAFEN. When the government changed in 2016, the government that came into power cancelled the loan. That loan from CAFEN had already been organized, had already been approved by CAFED. In fact, what was supposed to happen was within that loan, the bypass roads in the country, the bypass roads going through what's happening now, the bypass road would have been improved and expanded within that loan context. That was 5 years ago. Also, there was also a plan for feeder roads in the constituencies of Viewfort North, Denry North, and Denry South. There were feeder roads. Again, within, the government cancelled it and went on their own plan, which was the expansion through direct award and through local financing, DFC, between former Volney's gas station and Grove City. And as I always say, governments have the right to do whatever plans they want to. When people elect governments, they elect governments to execute the plans of the political party that they elected. That is a fact. We do not agree, but we have no question the government changing their mind. What we don't agree with is the deliberate misinformation that goes out when governments change their mind. The deliberate misinformation. There's nothing wrong in changing your mind. You're in government, you've changed your mind, a policy is going this way, you want to go that way. That is your plan. That's what the people elected you for the policies that you enunciated in your manifesto. But when you change your mind, and when the plans do not work, don't misinform, or do not make excuses that make absolutely no sense. And if you allow me, I come to health insurance. There is not one document that is available that speaks about any plan for health insurance. There's not one document. And I've asked the Minister of Health, I've asked the officials in the Ministry of Health to show me a document that spoke about health insurance. A document. I'm not disputing the fact that there may have been plans. I'm not disputing that fact. What I want is a document that outlines, that was laid either in the Parliament or discussed in the Cabinet, that speaks about health insurance. I haven't seen it, and I've asked for it, and if I see it, I'll be able to critically look at it. The Ministry of Health will have been able to look at it. There's been no document. What we hear are plans. But I'll tell you again, we have no issues with a government, a political party, when they get in the government, changing the plans of the former government. We hope that good plans are continued, but we have no issue with it.
Okay, can you speak to the road construction with regards that northern corridor, whether there's going to be a physical change from what was being established as it relates to this road, and what is going to happen now? Is it going to be a commencement, finishing what it started, or a realignment of what the plan is?
Okay, if you can talk about what's happening now. Right now, we are financing through local sources, local revenue, and part local revenue, part loan financing for what's happening now in terms of the VSUK Road expansion. That comes to $24 million. We are financing from that. And again, we're going to be telling the public exactly where the $1.50 went, in what road, exactly where it went. We're not going to have generic statements, it went to road construction. We're going to show to the public that part of the 150 that was imposed by the last government, which we kept, we're going to be showing the public exactly what road it went to. In that case, part of it is going into the VSUK expansion. The other part is going to be loan financing. So in this regard, we hope that we will be taking some of the traffic away from the highway, the Grocery Highway, and taking it in the VSUK Road. So the congestion will stop. Even when the highway is completed, the congestion will stop because that road would take a lot of that traffic. Many people don't take that road because of the size, so we expand it. In terms of the physical activities happening on the ground physically, the consultants are there. They are now reviewing, because I want to make it clear to you members of the press, these plans were there from 2015. An entire feasibility was done. An entire feasibility, a plan they were there from 2015. Now the consultants are on the ground as we speak, reviewing these plans because traffic trends have changed, populations have changed, more cars are on the road, so reviewing that plans. As to whether they're going to be exactly what was envisaged in 2015, 2016, will evolve when the feasibility study, etc., is updated and completed.
I was actually just speaking about what started in the last administration.
Oh.
The roundabouts and the...
That is also being reviewed because that is a very interesting situation. Which it's a very interesting situation, and I think the former Minister of Infrastructure has a story on that which you should ask him. How were there any plans for that before it was constructed? I mean, was there any plan? Was there any plan for that? And these are questions. When was the plan for these roads? When was it envisaged? When it was discussed? How did it come along? What was the timing? I like that question answered truthfully. At what time did we design that project? What time? Whether it started before the work, after the work, or during the work? These are questions which you must ask the Minister of Infrastructure. There are many stories, and then, right now I used to talk about the silly season. My government is not interested in the silly season. My government is interested in continuing the work that we started for the people of St. Lucia. We do not do things in seasons. We want to continue the work, and we are saying to the people of St. Lucia, let us continue the work we've started. So we're not doing anything that in a seasonal way. We're not involved in the desperation of a season. My government's achievements are clear. Very clear-cut, very want to see. Our achievements are not imagined. Our achievements are not things people say happened, but nobody can recall. Our achievements are tangible. People can touch it. You can touch the minimum wage. You can touch the facility fees for students. You can touch the 4 CX exams. You can see the billing going up for the House of Justice. You can see the bill going up for the Northern headquarters. You can see the additions that are happening in the schools now. You can see the 30% pay increase for civil servants. You can see the bonus paid to civil servants. They felt it in their pockets. You could see the August salaries paid to teachers. They had it in their pockets. You can see the bonus we're going to pay pensioners in November again. They've got 2 before. They can feel it. So our achievements are not imagined. Our achievements are not things people will think of where that already happened. I'm saying to the country that we want to continue these plans. So we're not in the seasonal thing. So that's why I said last week, we're not discussing the city season. What we want to do is a continuation of the work that the government has started. We're asking the people of St. Lucia to allow us to continue that work. And it's their choice. When I'm certain, when they look at the achievements of this government, the real achievements of the government has not been perfect. There's now been a perfect government. But I'm going to say to you, the achievements of this government, the youth economy, the micro loan scheme, the achievements, we say to the public, based on these achievements, we hope to continue the work that we started in 2021. That's all we say. So we're not in the seasonal thing. There's no desperation on our part. There's no desperation to prove anything. We want to continue the work that we started. You see the investments. You can see the new hotels. The new hotels have been built are not imagined. They're not things that people said they had negotiated for. You see them. And that's what it's in the public of St. Lucia. Go touch it. Go see it. Go feel it. Can you tell the teachers whether they support UWP or Labour, that in August they didn't get their salaries? Can you tell them that? Can you tell the civil servants that they did not get the back pay, what was due to them, and what we paid them didn't? Can you tell them they didn't get it? Can you tell them they imagined that? Can you tell them the parents who now will only pay, government will pay for CXC? So can you tell them that's something that we said we would do? This week, Thursday, we're going to be giving the preschools an additional $3,000 per preschool. Can you tell them? Can you tell them they didn't receive the check? And that's the government's. That is our case. Our case is not a case of loud and accusations. And you say, I say, we say, she say. Our case is a case of judge us by our achievements. You were in. I'm sure you were in the court last week. You heard how the court ruled. We always said, wait for the judgment of the court. We always said so. We've been saying so for a long time. I've been saying so for ages. Why are you so excited? You went to court, wait for the judgment of the court. Why try to predict what the court is saying? I said so for the RICO case. Didn't I say so? I was increased, I attacked him. That's what we're saying. We're saying, judge us by our work. You understand? Judge by our work. And we're also saying that, you know, I've noticed a trend where people just say things. Now, if two men have a private conversation, and one of these men disclose a conversation at the time was private, the measure of a man is confidentiality remains confidentiality. And I will never disclose private conversations I've had with anyone, never. That's not how I was brought up. I was brought up to understand that confidence is confidence. So people can say whatever they want about private conversations we had. I will never say if it's true or not true. I'm not going to be drawn into this roro. I'm not. I have work to do. I'm so excited about this country. So I'm not drawn into this ye say, you say, she say, I say, this say. I don't get involved in that. I'm not. No one. And I can put out everybody to notice. I am not going to be drawn in this discussion. So say whatever you want. I'm not going to be drawn in it. I'm not. My job is not to create war with anybody or to prove anything. My work we have not been perfect. We've not been perfect. And that is what I always say to people. Judge us by our performance. Judge us by what we said. Next week, we have a very exciting document that we're going to be discussing to you. It's called The Achievements of the Government. And I want you, as journalists, to go touch all of them and say if anything that didn't happen and compare it to perceptions, compared to things people imagine happen, or compared to things people write dreams of. The only person remember is the person who read it, is the person who wrote it, or the person who said it. That's the only person who can remember these things. You understand? That's what I'm saying to you. Compare 100 new recruits in the police force. Tell me that didn't happen. Tell me we did not increase the recruits in the police force. Tell me that's not true. Tell me we didn't start the Rangers program for the tourism industry. Tell me it's not true. Tell me it's a lie. Tell me we did not add the vehicles and drones and the ATVs in the police force. Tell me it's not true. Tell me we haven't relocated the ancillary police station. Tell me you have not relocated the Viewford police station. Tell me that's not true. In health, tell me expansion is not going on now in the Grosley Polyclinic. Tell me that St. Jude will not be ready for commissioning in short order. Say it's not true. Tell me these things don't happen. When you have that discussion, we can have a seasoned discussion. But I'm not discussing innuendo and they say deflections, taking you out of the path. We're running on our record. On our record, that's what we're running on. Then what you talk about our record on crime? Tell me that the government has not injected the most in terms of citizen security in the country. And tell me what were the numbers when the very, 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 very unfortunate, the spike in murders in 2017. You know, it's very sad when people try, because of political desperation, to use crime as a vehicle that they hope will get them into power. It's very sad. It's extremely sad. We will not get involved in that level when you use local and international paid agents to get involved in that discussion. We're not. We're running the elections based on our record of achievements and how we have transformed the lives of the people of St. Lucia.
Good morning, Mr. Prime Minister. Just two questions I just have for you. The first one, just for clarification on the special needs educational upgrade. I know you said a little earlier on they'll be also having infrastructure measures to also assist within assisting the students as well as the teachers. Will that be new institutions built or upgrades to institutions that's already?
Upgrades, what is it? The existing infrastructure, upgrading it so they can have us in there, can have the special education.
Okay. And just lastly for me is with elections on the horizon, many citizens in the diaspora also wants to take part within elections for St. Lucia. I just want to know, will there be anything in place, maybe not now, but within the next time, like anything in place for those in the diaspora to also take part within elections in St. Lucia?
Well, we have no overseas voting at this time, so I can make no pronouncements on overseas voting at this time.
I know you just said you're not really concerned with these sort of things, but I think it would be remiss of me if I didn't ask. Last week, Stanley Felix, he would have made some pronouncements, bringing your name into certain conversations and citing betrayal and these sort of things. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that and if there's anything you want to say in that regard.
Well, unfortunately, when the gentleman was on DBS, I wasn't listening. I've not had the time to listen from that time. Because, I have to defend the seat I won 6 times. I have to defend it for a 7th time. So I have to find myself to ensure that I win my seat, you understand? So I spent some time in my constituency this weekend, and I also have to go in other places. But all I can tell you is I will never dispute anything Mr. Felix says, never. If Mr. Felix and I have a personal conversation, he wants to disclose it, go ahead and disclose it. I will never disclose it, never. And never. I know Stanley for a long time. And I will never get involved in trying to create any row with him, never. Everyone has a democratic right to run elections. You need $250. Anybody who has $250 can run elections for anywhere. I have nothing against anyone who wants to run elections. Nothing against them. I have run 7. I won 6. So I have nothing against that. So I don't see all the need for... You see, I tell you something. This election, for me, it will never be an election of conflict. That election, for me, is an election of my achievements. That election, for me, is an election where we have 4 years of consecutive economic growth. That's what I'm talking about. You will not hear me involved in mudslinging. You won't get me involved in innuendo. You won't get me involved in creating controversy. I'm not going to be angry, etc. I'm going to run on my record. And let the people judge my record. It's not been perfect. Let the people judge my record. Ek avant nou ale, mwen vle di tout moun sent ici, bon journée créole. Nous savons, c'est dit sur place, que tout, chaque moun là, ça parle créole. Là, le monde qui passe à parler créole. Mais tous ces moun là qui comprennent créole, mais veut dire bonne journée créole, mais veut dire pas boire tellement, pas boire un chai, pas ni pièce désagrément avec pièce police. Si vous boire, pas drive. Si vous drive, pas boire. So, mais veut dire tout le monde, ni un bon jour Creole. For all those who don't understand Creole, I want to tell them have a happy Creole Day this Sunday. So, gens qui savent parler créole, gens qui comprennent créole, mais veut dire ni un bon jour. Moun qui passe à comprendre créole do have an enjoyable Creole Day. Thank you.
Okay, we will now hear from Honorable Dr. Ernest Tile, who is also the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Tourism, Investments, Creative Industries, Culture, and Information. Dr. Tile.
Thank you very much. I probably will not say much as Minister of Tourism unless if you ask me any specific questions. So I think I'm going to make some general comments as the first deputy leader of the Central Labour Party, and of course in my personal capacity. I'm sure you would have heard the judgment delivered by the CCJ. But let me start off on Labour Party business. Of course, you knew yesterday we did postpone the launching of Gibson Charles, our candidate for the Strozel Saltiver seat. The launching will now take place on November 2nd at the same venue, the Lafayette playing field. Of course, it will be our fifth launching in terms of the new candidates that we will be presenting to the electorate. And of course, the campaign is about to start. Of course, once you've launched your candidates, you can go, into the campaign. And most people, of course, are speculating. The Prime Minister has already said that elections will be on a Monday. He didn't say which Monday, but I'm sure between now and July next year, and I think we can go 3 months beyond. So it's going to be a long season for some people. But of course, we're going to continue, and I'm sure you're going to see increased activities over the next few weeks, and certainly looking forward to the campaign. There's a lot happening in my own constituency. Of course, those of you who would have passed by Banana of late would have noticed that most of the houses are slowly, being broken down by the occupants. Like I told you, we were not going to be distracted by the noise. And the promises made to Banana Bay residents that they would be getting $1 million and hundreds of thousands of dollars. The new promise now is that they will get that if they win the elections. So it's not that they're entitled to it, but that, of course, if they win the elections, they will give it to them. But I think the residents, and I always thought so, when they reflected on what was being said to them, in their more quiet moments would realize that it's just more empty promises being made to them, and that already they were getting more than what would normally be expected in the circumstances in which they are in. So we're certainly looking forward to progress on this matter. Moving on in terms of the judgment from the CCJ, I think many press persons have asked me for interviews and to express my sentiments on it, and I've indicated to everyone that we would do so at this press briefing rather than do multiple interviews. It's an opportunity for me to express my own views on it. I think in many ways, it really brings an end to a number of years, almost 8 years, 9 years of relentless persecution. And, you know, many St. Lucians would probably be of the opinion that I stole a vehicle, I did not pay taxes on the vehicle, I did not submit the right documents. The UWP has gone all out to destroy my reputation, to spoil my reputation. And it's all on the basis of a vehicle I know I bought with my money, and I did not break any rules or laws. But they had to create that narrative, and not just once, but they've tried to do it in many instances. And I'm saying here to you, it will not end. It will not end. It will end when Alan Chasney loses the Miku seat and the Labour Party is returned to government. And even then, I think his obsession will continue. But I want, before we even talk about the judgment, let's just go over how this started and what happened. You know, soon after the election was lost by the Labour Party in 2016, of course, Alan continued this personal vendetta. The first accusation was that I had stolen a vehicle from the High Commission in England, and a memo was actually prepared for an investigation into a missing government asset. And I can recall the memo from the then Director of Finance saying they had no record of ever having purchased such a vehicle or ever having disposed of such a vehicle. But she still asked that there be an investigation, because that was what the instruction was, that I had stolen a vehicle. And of course, once I provided evidence that I had paid for the vehicle and showed my bank statements where the money came from my bank account to pay for the vehicle, the narrative changed. So it was that I had not paid my taxes in the UK. But of course, once it was pointed out that I was a diplomat, I enjoy diplomatic status, and I don't pay taxes, you know, on purchases of that nature, I would not have to pay it, then the narrative changed again. I now became, I did not pay my taxes in St. Lucia. Again, I had to explain to them, I'm a returning diplomat. I don't pay taxes. And then they pointed out that you had not paid the VAT, and the exemption for returning diplomats at that time did not cover VAT. And then I pointed out to them, well, it's not my responsibility to pay the VAT. It's the state's responsibility to pay the VAT, because I'm a returning diplomat. And then we discovered documents where the Ministry of Foreign Affairs actually tried to pay the VAT when they realized that the VAT had in fact not been paid, but then the government then stopped it from being paid, so they can say, I had not paid it. But it was explained again, it's not my responsibility. I am a returning diplomat. And they attempted to get controllers of customs to seize the vehicle. The first controller said there was no basis for that. He was removed. A second controller was put in, a female controller. She too said there's no basis for that. She was removed. And a third person was put in. And that person was not even appointed as controller. I think that person was acting controller. I'm told the person may not have even been qualified to be controller, but was acting controller. And I read a report from the individual virtually saying, I can do it, I can get it done. Of course, that person is now a candidate for the United Workers' Party. And so just think about that. How do you have been engaged in all those activities and end up being a candidate together with Alan Chasney, but still deny that you had any political intentions when you did what you did? But that person seemed to have, and so from my reading of the document, seemed to have suggested that they can get the job done, they can get it done, and was made acting controller. And what the person then claimed is that I did not submit the right documents. My lawyers wrote and said, look, can you cease and desist and stop harassing Ernest Hilaire, because he has provided you with all the documents you need. But he insisted he does not have the documents and proceeded to charge me and also to seize the vehicle. The vehicle was seized for 1 year because he claimed I did not give the right documents. What I did then was to bring a suit against Chico and bring a suit against the Attorney General, because this is clearly wrong. I know I have provided you with all the documents. I know that. And yet you're going to charge me. So, of course, I brought a suit against him. And there was actually, the court sent it to mediation. And at that mediation, his lawyer was able to persuade for the matter to be settled, and he would have had to apologize. And I can make available copies of the order of the court and the wording of his apology. The wording of his apology to me in exchange for me dropping the case against him. Now, like I told him during that matter, I can go after you and make you pay. But I have no such intention. I have no such intention. In any case, I told him then that he was just a pawn of Alan Chasney. They were just using him to get to me, and I'm not going to go after him to make him pay. Of course, if I knew then that he was going to end up being a candidate of the United Workers' Party, my disposition might have been a little different. But he did offer an apology. But just to show you the character of the individual, the apology was read by his lawyer, recorded, videotaped, whatnot. The court document, which I can share with you, does not recognize who read the apology. It says it's an apology from him. He then argues afterward that he never apologized. It's his lawyer that apologized for him. Now, I don't know how you can differentiate between your lawyer apologizing for you and it's not you that apologized, so it's somebody else that apologized for you. But he did apologize, and the court order is there. And in exchange for that, I dropped the charges against him. I mean, that tells you how I felt. Despite all what he did to me, despite charging me wrongfully, despite seizing my vehicle for 1 year, I decided, bro, I'm not coming after you. This is not even about you. You know, this is about Alan Chasney coming after me. My matter in relation to his charging me also went to court, and the magistrate also said, go to mediation. The magistrate just said, why is this matter even before the courts? Can't solve that in mediation, because as far as the magistrate is concerned, what's this all about? So we went to mediation. During mediation, of course, elections were called, and the Labour Party won. Of course, he was an acting controller. His contract, his acting period ended. And of course, he was not renewed. And like I said, remember I said at the start, he did not even qualify. Because if you think about it, if he was qualified to be controller, they would have appointed him controller. But he was never appointed controller because he wasn't even qualified for the post. And then a new controller was put in place. At our first mediation after elections, the new controller said to mediation, look, I can't continue with this case. I saw it before I became controller. I advised then that there was no basis for it. Now I'm controller. I cannot proceed in this case. And of course, he agreed to drop the matter. We went to court, reported the mediation exercise to the magistrate, who, of course, dismissed the case. Alan Chasney then decides he's going to bring a case in court saying that the controller did not have the capacity to drop the charges against me. And he wanted a judicial review of it. He lost in the High Court. He went to the appeal court. He lost in the appeal court. He then goes to the CCJ to try to win his case, thinking that he wants it reinstated. Now remember all what I told you, that from the day one, my lawyers wrote to them and said, but the document you're asking for is already in your possession. I mean, my lawyers wrote then. The new controller said, but the document, I have to drop the case because the document you're asking him for, we have it. But in Chico's mind and Alan Chasney's mind, no. The document, they want it to be in a particular form, a particular way, and that's what they want. But that's their business. I think you saw the CCJ judgment and what the judges fought of Alan Chasney and his case. And in many ways, it really tells you of the character of the person. I mean, when a High Court, an appeals court, and a CCJ can, in every instance, point to the illogicality of what you're doing, the nonsensical nature of what you're doing, wasting the court's time. But for him, what's important is that it continues to attack Ernest Hilaire. Just keep throwing dirt, keep saying things, because something must stick, or some people will believe what is being said. From day one, I mean, the same Alan Chasney, in an interview on HTS, would accept that, yes, the vehicle belongs to Ernest Hilaire, he paid for it, but he gave it back to the High Commission as a gift. I don't know if you all have seen that clip. That clip is available, where he actually says, yes, it's his vehicle, he bought it, yeah, we accept that, but he gave it back as a gift, and he took back the gift he gave. I mean, this is how ridiculous this got. But all along, my name has been sullied, been dirtied, and, to destroy, my reputation. But the CCJ really put it in perspective. It was a monumental waste of the court's time. So we're now waiting for the next judgment that will come, where he applied for an injunction to stop the CIP. And that one, the case was heard, July 26, I think it was heard, or around that time, just after Carnival. So we're going to wait for that judgment to hear what the courts will say about this one. But you see, again, all of that just tells you, and when you put into context what happened with Martinez and the RICO case, I mean, remember what we went through during this RICO case thing with Martinez? St. Lucia being placed on the international, landscape, and the leader of the opposition trying his very best to dirty and sully the name of St. Lucia. To join with Martinez, join with him, known for all his past and all the things he's done in the past, and join with him to destroy St. Lucia. I mean, he promised Martinez had given him evidence, and he was going to New York and Washington to collect the evidence, and he was going to bring it back. And at the end of the day, Martinez himself realized he didn't have a basis for what he was saying. And then they will claim, diplomatic immunity we claim. Which diplomatic immunity? McLeod doesn't have diplomatic immunity. The only person who was named was McLeod Emmanuel, who does not have any diplomatic immunity. So he have no diplomatic immunity he can claim. But Martinez dropped the case because basically there is no case. Martinez thought he could have filed this case and caused everybody to meet his demands, whatever they were. It didn't happen, so eventually he had to drop the case. But Alan Shastney, Guy Joseph, and UWP joined with him. And we said then, and we still believe, they were prepared to burn down St. Lucia and for him to be the king of the ashes. That if he burn it down, he's now the king, and he'll try to rebuild it. That was his sole intent, to stop the CIP, stop the infrastructure program, because they did not want progress to take place in this country. That all what the government was doing, all the good works of the government had to be stopped at all costs. How could Philippe boast about growth and development and roads and schools and hospitals? How can he boast of those things? And to have more money from the CIP to do more for St. Lucia? He had to stop it in his mind. And he didn't mind destroying St. Lucia to stop it. In this case, with my matter, it was about destroying me. And then by extension, the government and the Labour Party. It was about destroying me. But it will take a lot more than this. He will continue to try, and I can tell all of you here today, I am very sure, that you're already conniving and planning what next to do, because that's the nature of the beast. You have to continue to go at it until eventually he's stopped. But I am quite pleased that at least this particular one has come to an end. Like I said, the next one, which was a case against CIP unit and against me as minister. I'm looking forward to the judgment, and hoping that it will be quite soon so we can also close that chapter and then we can move forward. So if you have any questions, I'll take them.
You would have painted a picture that there is something that Mr. Shastney holds against you. Over the years, it has been 8 years you have outlined. Surely by now you would have figured out what it is that So I would imagine after 8 years, now you know what it is that is the issue between the two of you, or insofar as he's concerned.
Well, I think it started even before 8 years. It started from the time I was announced that I was entering the politics of St. Lucia. He became prime minister, then he had a position where he felt he could use it to really come after me. But from the time I was a candidate in 2016, I mean, it was really after me. I will never pretend that I know his hurt. I can never pretend. Or his reasons. I can speculate just like any other person. But I will not pretend I can answer that question for him. I think you should ask him that question next time you interview him. I haven't heard him done any interview since the judgment came out. It would be interesting how he responds to this. I know he and I, we don't really have any interaction. There's no need for us to interact. I know in the House, when I stand to speak, you know, I think he knows what to expect from me, and I know what to expect from him. But we don't really have any interaction. Maybe one day I'll probably ask him why, and I'll share it with you.
All right. Just moving on a little bit. No doubt, the Prime Minister would have mentioned, or would have boasted a little bit about the economic numbers, but we have Dominic Fede, the opposition, speaking about the downturn or the perceived downturn in tourism figures. How do you rationalize?
But, you know, I've heard Dominic Fede speak about, you know, the numbers. Tourism is in crisis. The country, you know, tourism is about to collapse. And again, it's just to put it in perspective. The best year before 2024 was 2019. The best year, 2019. In 2024, we surpassed 2019. So it now became our new best year. In 2025, it has been, the last I checked, there was a 3% drop, yeah, in our year-to-date arrivals. But we are still better than 2019. So put that in perspective. Huh? So yes, we dropped slightly over our best year ever, but we are still better than the previous best year. So we're not doing that badly if you think about it, because this year is still the second best year ever. Now, I don't know how you can be in crisis and things are collapsing around you if you're still in your second best year. And the year has not yet ended. So we may still, you know, conclude the year, you know, depending on what happens over the next few months. But what to add to it is that we have less rooms this year than we had in 2019 and that we had last year. I mean, the entire Ridgeway Beach, the free hotels there, have been broken down. All those rooms are out of, you know, stock. All the rooms are out of stock. Secrets was also closed. Well, it was Wyndham, and we only reopened a couple months ago. So our room stock has dropped over 2019 and over 2024. So you have high numbers despite less rooms. So how does that mean you're in crisis? And how does that mean it's about to collapse around you? Our tourism is in a very good place. We have some challenges, headaches, but they're actually good headaches to have, you know, to be honest with you. But I put it that way. The room rates in Central have gone up since COVID. The properties are making more, earning more revenue than before. That's a fact, and I can share with you some of the data. They're actually making more than they were making before in terms of gross revenue. We have a very, very ambitious program of enhancing the products of St. Lucia. So you will see, you know, a number of developments taking place around St. Lucia, tourism related, the GPH developments. We're working on the underwater sculpture park, the Asfair Lookout, the Mon Lookouts. You know, there are a number of experiences, ATV experiences, the community tourism agency is doing quite a lot of work in terms of product development. So we are taking the product to a higher level. And we're seeing investment like never before in tourism in St. Lucia. Now, the same persons who were saying that tourism is in a crisis and in decline, it was very pleasing to my ears to hear them announce that they are upgrading all their rooms to luxury suites. The same people, huh? So their hotel is about to undertake a very ambitious upgrading exercise to upgrade all their rooms to luxury suites.
Have they applied for concession?
No. And if they apply, they will get it because, you know, I think Sandals Grand just refurbished 140 rooms at Sandals Grand, upgrading it. And all over, hotels are upgrading the levels because they are positioning themselves more and more into the luxury sector. Now, we're not entirely happy with this because we still want to feel the back of the plane. And we need the 3.5-star properties for persons who want to spend a lesser amount and still enjoy the holiday in St. Lucia. But our tourism is doing quite well. It will get even better, I believe, in the next 2 to 3 years when all the new properties in St. Lucia finally are completed, and some have not even started yet, but we've already signed the deals and the agreements for them. St. Lucia will have a substantially improved tourism product. And add to that the work that is being done in the Ministry of Tourism with certification, ensuring that we raise our standards, the work that's been done in encouraging sustainable tourism with the use of clean energy, whatnot. St. Lucia will be in a much better place. So we would have taken the tourism industry at a certain point, and we'll take it to a higher level. And of course, those that come in the future will take it to an even higher level. So Dominic, the first thing Dominic should learn to do if he really wants to represent St. Lucia and to be able to speak about authentic experiences in St. Lucia is at least just don't say Ukudi or is it? I mean, seriously, how do you exemplify the spirit of St. Lucia and who we are as a people and really want to go out there and say you represent? Can you imagine Dominic Fede says he represents authentic St. Lucian experiences? Seriously, Ukudi? Come on.
All right. The final question
Let's get
for me.
serious.
Final question for me. Over the last few years, we've seen one of the biggest tourism products somewhat diversify from Jamaica and St. Lucia, as you wish. Is that speaking of the sandals product, going into St. Vincent and Grenada, and then St. Vincent, and the planned construction of a new.
Strategic.
Yeah, strategic. Right. So
I need that ringtone. I need that ringtone. Make sure you say that to me. Yeah.
right. So some people have suggested that it is something of an indictment on us not having secured another Sandals property, which was actually planned quite a few years ago. I remember it would have been between Grosile and the landings because Sanders had acquired that portion of property. So the suggestion is that it's an indictment on us that we've not secured that beaches project, and subsequently having new projects in Grenada and St. Vincent and the talk of Trinidad and Tobago. What say you?
Well, put it that way, it's not in my place to make announcements for Sandals, and I will leave it to Sandals to make the announcement for St. Lucia and what they will be doing in St. Lucia. We already have 3 Sandals hotels, the most after Jamaica. And we probably have the Sandals hotel that is the best performing in the region. So I think we're very well placed with Sandals. I know they have some real ambitious plans for St. Lucia that will redefine the Sandals experience, but I will leave it to them to make their announcements at the right time. We have so many other things to announce in St. Lucia, from the Marquis Estate ecotourism development that will be the most progressive tourism investment in the whole Caribbean when it is executed. We did have a presentation to the media a couple months ago. This one is mouth-watering in terms of what it offers when one speaks about sustainable and sustainable tourism and talk about the use of the environment. I mean, this for me is even more exciting than anything anybody else can come to St. Lucia with. We're going to have a set of residences, high-end luxury residences, being constructed in St. Lucia by major international brands. That for me is a new segment of the market that we won't have many of, but can you imagine, the major brands establishing residencies in St. Lucia? And I think it's very exciting. And as much as I know Sandals is a very valuable product to have, we have 3 Sandals already. And, let Sandals will take their time. They will define the product. I don't know that we need another Sandals of the same, offering as to what we already have. So when Sandals do come, it It has to be something extraordinary.
Mr. Minister, maybe you might have been confronted with this question or issue in the past as it relates to the Rodney Bay area, once upon a time famously known as the epicenter for entertainment. Locals, visitors alike would flock to Rodney Bay on a Friday, on a weekend, or any weeknight, and there would be some place to go, somewhere to dine, and just have a nice time. What's your observation with the state of Rodney Bay? A couple of areas, dimensions of this question is maybe zoning, because now we've seen businesses as opposed to bars and restaurants sort of encroaching or coming close to the area or the space known for entertainment. I think we have a children's center not too far off where the bus stop is. So my question is taking on multiple complexions. Is zoning or the regulation of zoning affecting the ability or the quality of services, entertainment services in the Rodney Bay area? One. Two, is your ministry going to consider or considering maybe incentivizing businesses to maybe utilize some of those commercial spaces for that purposes? Because, without entertainment per se, you have a boring country. So
Yeah.
what?
No, I think the Rodney Bay will get some special attention. Special attention in particular. And we've already started the work for it. I mean, the way we are approaching our work, we have delivered. We've made promises to people of St. Lucia to put them first. I think we've succeeded in this regard, and very soon we'll be presenting our achievements. And we're going to continue the work. And we're already doing and putting things in place for the next few years, because that's our mindset. The elections for us is a necessity that has to come along the way, but there's not going to be no stop and start back again. We're just going to continue to do the work we're doing. So the development at Ridgeway Beach, where 3 new hotels will be built, and if you go there now, you notice the site preparation works is about to start. We've already, part of the development agreement with them is about the upgrading of the Rodney Bay Strip. The Isla Resort development are going to be part of that, upgrading and redevelopment of the Rodney Bay experience. In fact, I can tell you the beach park that you all heard so much about is almost completed. In fact, it should be completed in the next couple of weeks. And hopefully in November, we'll have a grand opening of it. That whole development there at the Isla Resort will be a fantastic addition, including a special blue zone where there'll be like a marketplace within the property for St. Lucians for entertainment. It will have the largest conference center in St. Lucia for events and whatnot. So we're already thinking of how we're going to upgrade, Rodney Bay. And we're talking about from at the end of the strip all the way to the highway. So you are right. There's going to be a focus on it. There's going to be dialogue with the various business places there. You notice Rituals is already building a new Chinese and Thai restaurant there. And there's also another, development taking place right there. So you will see. And like you said, it's not so much a zoning issue as much as we have a very clear vision as to how we want the place to develop. But again, come back to the point you made, not just in Rodney Bay, but we have to have a dialogue on Grosley and how does Grosley grow? Because Grosley has been a fixture on the St. Lucia calendar in terms of entertainment, but it has to grow. And we put in place the park recently and we open it, and you notice it's growing in that direction. So we need to have a dialogue too about Grosley, and very soon, Kenson, the Honorable Kazime, we'll have a discussion on it. But not just there, in ancillary. Watch what's happening in ancillary and how that too will develop. And in Soufrière waterfront with the GPH proposal. So you are right. Throughout the country, we need to focus more and more as to how you provide for entertainment and you provide for persons who want to come to a country and enjoy some nightlife, So yes, there's a very conscious effort in terms of developing those night experiences around St. Lucia.
Okay. Yeah, John, yeah, man. Hi, morning, Minister. It was okay. I can do two.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
So,
Hi, Minister. Just 2 questions I have for you today. The first aspect when it comes to CIP, I know recently you did say with the leader of opposition taking it to court. We're waiting on the judgment from the CCJ on that. But in regards to CIP currently right now, because even last night, still the leader of opposition is still saying there's fraudulence going on within the CIP, Citizen Buy Investment Program. What will be currently right now the state of CIP currently within St. Lucia, or we'll still be waiting on the judgment from?
I don't even know what he means by that. Let me tell you, I stopped listening to the leader of the opposition. Seriously. I mean, I usually people tell me what he said. And if it's something wordy, they might send me a clip. I will not spend any time in my life to sit down and listen to the leader of opposition unless I have to. Because you don't even know, there's no basis for saying anything. He just says anything. And I don't even know what he meant by this, but the CIP continues to function, continues to raise significant revenue for St. Lucia. We are going to Parliament very shortly, where we're going to table the regional regulatory authority legislation. We'll also be making some changes to the CIP legislation. I think I had announced that before. We're going to go back to what we had in 2016. All the provisions that he had removed, we're going to put back most of them, those that are still relevant and applicable. So we're going to strengthen the CIP, replacing what he took out. And we're going to make it more accountable, to make it, more sustainable, and we're going to be doing so. So I don't know what he talks about, to be honest.
Okay. And my second question is, with last week, the opening of Chosel's Arts and Crafts Center, I know you said last week that it's the first initiative of having more tourism aspects within the South. So my question is, what will be the next big opening or the next big tourism attraction happening for down South?
There are two big ones coming on the horizon. I can't tell if it will be before or after elections, but it's certainly going to be coming up. There'll be announcement of a major hotel resort down in the South, and that will be done. And we also will be launching what we call the Earth Tour. I spoke about it at the opening of the launching, where visitors will have a new experience in Soufrière, where they visit artisans, workspaces, and experience an authentic, immersive, journey in terms of how you make coal pots, how you make table mats, how you make, indigenous chairs, for example. And I'm really excited about the Earth Tour because it takes the visitor down to the workspaces of our artisans and to immerse into that experience. So I'm really excited about it. And those things will happen probably over the next 6 months. And I'm really, really super excited about it.
One question from me. So you mentioned the move by various hotels to become more luxurious, and of course to position St. Lucia as an even better, higher end experience. Is there any concern for you as it relates to the Airbnbs or the smaller hotels and the pressure that puts on them, whether it be guest expectations or now the financial pressures to upgrade? And as it relates to community tourism, how is that tying in to create a luxurious experience for what is authentically St. Lucia, and how do we tie the two?
That's a very good question. And in fact, it's the point I made about having good headaches, because the CTA is doing a fantastic job in encouraging expansion in that sector, the home accommodation sector. But we also have a lot of expansion in the villa sector in St. Lucia. Almost every Monday in Cabinet, the amount of concession incentives we approve. Today we have free memos in Cabinet for persons who are going into that sector. So you have the hotel accommodation, you have that villa sector, and then you have the home accommodation, broadly speaking. I'm using general categories. We're seeing growth in all of them. In fact, I'll tell you something, and we're doing some research on it now. The prices for the daily rates for home accommodation has also increased significantly. So that means the St. Lucians who have the 2 free rooms in their homes are charging a very good price. And I think in the budget debate, I actually stated how much had been earned by St. Lucians in the home accommodation sector. I think it's about $80 million for last year. That's just St. Lucian. It's going to go up this year. I mean, these are average St. Lucians who are renting out rooms in their homes. Now, they too, like you said, will be forced to upgrade because, you know, if everybody else around you, villas upgraded, hotels upgrading, you also have to upgrade. But the fact is, it is thriving, and a lot of St. Lucians are taking, you know, making use of the opportunities for them to expand in that area. Our next big challenge, to be honest with you, would be more airlift. It's the chicken and the egg. So the airlines are saying to us, yeah, when you have more rooms, we'll bring more flights. You know, and you know, we had to convince the developers to come, because the seats will follow. So we now need to deliver the seats. And about 2 months ago, I did a tour of the United States, you know, to meet all the major airlines to say to them, well, yes, we have A, B, C, D, E sign up to build the properties, so they are coming. So can we start signing on for the increased airlift for next year and the year after, because the hotels are going to be built. So I'm really excited about the future for tourism. And I don't think we need to listen to Dominic Fede that, you know, things are collapsing and there is so much decline and whatnot. If you judge his Creole by anything to go by, you can't listen to him. Yeah. Okay?
Can I just ask just one short final one? I don't know if we would have gotten any reactions from you yet, but at the World Travel Awards, St. Lucia leading honeymoon destination, 17th time. But even in the past 4 years, we've seen that we've really cracked and been able to sustain the leading adventure tourism destination as well. To you, how important is that in showing that our portfolio as a tourism product is diversifying and what that adds as another selling point for the island?
No, again, you're right. We made a determined effort to promote adventure tourism, because adventure tourism forces the visitor to go out in the community, to go out. With romance, you know, you can stay in the resort, you know, your partner, you get married, you stay in the resort, and you know, have a romantic vacation without necessarily going out. But as our community tourism experiences grow and our emphasis on adventure tourism, it forces visitors to go out in the communities, go hiking, go bird watching, go and climb the Peterhouse, go and climb mountains, whatnot. You know, it really does. And when we start the underwater sculpture park, it now opens an entirely new frontier for us, and that of the diving sector, because we're going to be building 3 underwater parks. So you are right. It's a deliberate strategy to make sure we do not become over-reliant on just one sector, but we really offer a diversity of experiences to individuals. And more importantly, that the visitor moves from a resort-based experience to a community-based experience. So they are going out in the community, they're spending money. Communities are starting to thrive because they're earning more money, and we're not relying on just persons employed at a hotel to be able for us to get benefits from. And the hotel only on the weekend, they open a new club experience in Canaries, well, it's reviving one, whatnot, and we'll see more of that. We're about to start a lay-by in Canaries, overlooking Canaries Village. Again, it will have vending facilities, refreshment area, public facilities in terms of making often comfort to persons who are traversing the road. So you'll see the entire community starting to play a greater part. So yes, it's a deliberate strategy on our part. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, so our final speaker is Honorable Moses Jean-Baptiste, Minister for Health, Wellness, and Elderly Affairs. He will make a few remarks and then we will accept a few questions. Due to time constraints, we won't accept many questions.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press. I want to make a brief statement on the recommencement of surgeries at the Dr. Betty Wells Polyclinic. and I'm hoping you can ask me anything about Beaufort North. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs announced the recommencement of eye surgeries at the National Eye Clinic as of October 8th, 2025. It's a major milestone in strengthening access to quality eye care for all St. Lucians. This state-of-the-art facility, which became operational on December 2nd, 2024, represents the merger of the former Diabetic Retinopathy Clinic, which was at the Castries Wellness Center, and the Cuban Eye Clinic, which operated at the Victoria Hospital. The ministry has indicated, by way of a public statement, and I will repeat here, that the upgraded clinic boasts modern ophthalmic surgical systems for cataract and retina surgeries, advanced laser machines, microscopes, and sterilization equipment, newly installed lighting, air conditioning, and patient-friendly spaces, and so on. A dedicated, highly trained team of Cuban and local specialists with approximately 60 to 70 patients accessing services daily. We are very confident that the National Eye Clinic will continue to play a critical role in restoring sight and improving the quality of life for many. We know that since the opening of the St. Lucia Eye Clinic, hundreds of St. Lucians have accessed services at the clinic, and scores are waiting for surgical procedures. The surgeries have started, and I'm very pleased to inform the public of St. Lucia that surgeries will continue. I wish as Minister to state our thanks to all the patients who have been waiting, and also all the professionals who have been working with us at the ministry, especially the Cuban Brigade, and all those in the private sector who have been collaborating with us to ensure that we have a state-of-the-art facility. We are very proud of the facility, and we are hoping that the Dr. Betty Wells Urban Polyclinic will continue to be a leader in the provision of quality services at that level. I also want to announce that very soon the Sir Winston Paris Medical Complex, I'm sure you know that the whole complex, the Victoria Hospital complex, has been renamed the Sir Winston Paris Medical Complex, which includes the Dr. Betty Wells Urban Polyclinic and also the secondary care unit of the hospital. And we are also putting together an urgent care center. So there will be a ceremony in the next few days to officially rename the whole complex the Sir Winston Paris Medical Complex. We are very happy, and we continue to thank the medical professionals, and we continue to provide quality health services for the people of St. Lucia. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, with regards to the Dr. Betty Wells Polyclinic and that overall complex, will the ministry embark on, I guess, some sort of communicative strategy to really inform citizens of these services that are available there? Because I know one issue the hospital or the OKEU hospital faces is that people come with issues that sometimes personnel there feel can be dealt with at the polyclinic, formerly known as the Victoria Hospital. So will there be some sort of strategy on the part of the ministry to kind of, I guess, inform citizens of those services available there?
Well, clearly, communication is never too much, and we will continue to build on our communication strategies. But I can tell you that since the reopening or since the commissioning of the Dr. Betty Wells Polyclinic, we have actually seen the impact on the OKEU hospital emergency services. That impact can be measured. I did not come with the figures today, but we've actually seen the impact that during certain peak hours, where you would have a certain number of individuals over, the pressure at the OKEU hospital, we have seen a reduction of that pressure as a result of the Dr. Betty Wells Urban Polyclinic. Because at the Dr. Betty Wells Urban Polyclinic, there are some there's a level of diagnostic services that individuals can access. So yes, it has a positive impact, and we are hoping that as we continue to rehabilitate the Winston Paris Medical Complex, we are going to see the Francis Dalto building completely rehabilitated. The works will continue there, and we will have a facility which is 24 hours, and therefore pressure will be reduced on the OKEU hospital.
Mr. On the St. Jude's front, Mr. Kajada continues to share progress photos of the hospital online. Just from your ministerial perspective, seeing the progress, seeing the plans come along, how do you feel, and I guess any projections on when we can see that being officially open, considering that some of the older buildings are now being retrofitted?
Well, we are very confident that, as Prime Minister has said many times, that we are going to begin to occupy the building before year end. There is a process of transitioning, and we have explained this, Prime Minister has explained it, that we have a transitioning team, and some of the buildings are ready. There's equipment in some of the buildings and so on, and we are going, very soon, we are going to begin the transitioning of the hospital. The contractor did indicate publicly that we do have some equipment that's on the way, and so we have had some delays in the delivery or the arrival of some of the equipment. When this equipment comes to St. Lucia, there needs to be training of the medical professionals with the new equipment, because the equipment is brand new. And so there's a transitioning process which will take place similar to the Owen King EU Hospital, from the Victoria Hospital to Owen King EU Hospital. There's a transitioning. But the Prime Minister will announce again when the hospital will be officially open. We are very excited about that. We look forward to that day with great anticipation.
Okay. Yes. And on the parliamentary front, you said ask you about Beaufort North. So, I mean, this coming weekend, Jeune Creole, one of the host communities, I know you're a culture man yourself. Will you be performing anything in Bellevue? And just speak about, I guess, your constituency being the host of celebrations this time around, and what people can expect from Bellevue.
Well, I wish to congratulate the Bellevue Jeune Creole Committee and all of the individuals who have sacrificed over many months to ensure that several activities have been successful. They've had several activities, competitions and so on, and I look forward to the day itself, the lead-in. You asked me if I will participate. Yes, I will. Ministerial office has kept me away a little from a lot of what I truly love to do. But yes, on Friday night I will be leading what we call Soirée Jouée, which is a night of traditional games. That is going to be led by myself and my group Tabou Mele. And during the festivities on Sunday, we will be performing drumming and games and that kind of thing. And I am really pleased with the organization. We pray for good weather, and we invite everyone to Bellevue. It's a different experience. The people of Bellevue, as you know, culture is in our traditional culture and even modern culture in our bones in terms of music and arts and dance and so on. So food and so it's going to be a very exciting day, and we look forward to it. Bellevue has hosted Jeune Creole before, many years ago, and people can attest to the authenticity and the joy. So Bellevue is going to be a great experience. So I look forward to it myself as a practitioner.
Okay, Minister, with the reopening of St. Jude's, we know that the hospital is almost completed. When is the media going to be given the opportunity to at least take a tour of the hospital?
I can assure you that is in the works. It is something we have discussed, and the media will be given an opportunity. Not only the media, but leaders in the especially the southern communities, leaders in the private sector, the health private sector, and all of that is being organized. And yes, there's going to be a formal invitation for the media to visit the hospital site. It is not just a hospital site. It's just a beautiful place with the preparation of not only buildings and structures and so on, but gardens and and it's going to awe you, you know. So I am sure you will be invited formally. That is being planned.
Good afternoon, Minister.
Good afternoon.
A few press briefings ago, you would have mentioned that the Ministry of Health was working to restructure the mental health part. Where are we with that?
Well, the government, through the Cabinet of Ministers, approved the appointment or the creation of a post called Director of Mental Health. The ministry is working on that to ensure that we bring all of the mental health workers who are working with the ministry. We have mental health nurse practitioners and so on, to bring them sort of in, not a formal unit yet, because we just have the director, and to bring them together to begin the formalization of this. So the process is ongoing, but Cabinet has, so this post has been created. So this, you will hear a lot more about the functioning of that unit. We did not have a director before, but now we have that director, and the director will be ensuring that the programs and so on all come under one banner, one unit. Okay. That's it. You want to know about health insurance? 75,000. Let me. Yeah, okay. Let me just. So much has been said about this. I have spoken publicly about this notion. The United Workers' Party, you know, at every occasion they get, tries to tell St. Lucians that if they are elected, every St. Lucian will have a card with $75,000 worth of health insurance coverage. And I've said so before, when we got into government, we did not find any formal agreement, so to speak. There were cabinet conclusions or discussions on health, various, and these conclusions go as far back as Dr. Kenny Anthony introducing support for diabetics and hypertensives and so on. And different governments, when Dr. Anthony came back, we have different cabinet conclusions. In the last government discussed health and so on. But there is no document which gives the government's clear direction, the last government, the clear direction on how health would be financed. We know that in the discussions, in the hurried discussions in May of 2021, elections were in July 26, but we know that around May of 2021, the government, in trying to prove that they can do something about health financing, they had some discussions with some some insurance companies, whether it be private insurance companies, well, obviously private insurance companies, and to ask them their thoughts. What do you think if we give a $75,000 package to the people of St. Lucia? And what we know is that out of that, there were no concrete conclusions. And I keep saying that the last government had no concrete conclusions in relation to health insurance. Of course, there were discussions, and discussions on health financing have taken place for decades and decades and decades. Our approach has been different. We came into government, we said we are going to begin the introduction of universal health coverage in a phased way. We said we are going to provide services to the people of St. Lucia while we work on the other aspects of universal health coverage, the financing in particular. It is a challenging proposition for all governments around the Caribbean, around the world, to find how do you finance healthcare in the country. So the last government, what they're trying to say now is that everybody will get a card with $75,000. And I did a quick calculation. If there are about 65,951 households in St. Lucia, if you go based on the data, if the last government, based on what they were asking the insurance companies, the premium for a household or a family would have been $5,543, the private insurance companies. Most of us have health insurance. Sometimes you pay 100 and something. So there's a premium. The government would have to pay for every household, if it chose to go that way, around 5,500. Some companies probably would say 6,000. Other companies would say 4,000 something. And if the government had to pay for every household, there are 65,951 households. The premium per year for the government would be about $370 million. You can calculate it. That's households. Now they're saying they're going to give every individual a $75,000 card, which means that the government will have to pay a premium to the insurance company for every individual in St. Lucia. Let's take the population at say 178,000. I think the last census is around there, 174, 178,000. Now, the insurance companies, some of them said $2,017 per individual. Some would have said $2,080 or maybe $2,000. And if you have to multiply the premium by the population, if the government is planning to give everybody a card, the premium, the annual premium for the government would be $359 million a year. And you can multiply it. 178,000 multiplied by 2017. Now, the health budget, 25 to 26, the health budget is currently about $202 million. So the premium for everybody in St. Lucia to have this card is about 359 million, 360 million, and the health budget is 202 million. So they're saying that every single year, just for the health ministry and the health premiums, you would need $561 million in the budget for health. Now think about that. $561 million. So it's very clear to see that that's bluff. And in their discussions, like I said to you, all governments have been discussing this thing, but in their discussions, they're saying that everybody who can afford health insurance should buy health insurance privately. And I want them to say a lie. In their discussions, they were saying that every St. Lucian who can purchase health insurance should pay for it privately. And those who can't purchase it, well, the government would pay. But right now they're telling you everybody will get a card with $75,000. I want them to explain to the people of St. Lucia how and where they're going to get the money to put $561 million every year. Every year. $360 million in health insurance premiums. And I told you how I calculated it. What the insurance companies are looking at, multiply by the population, and you will get it. And very quickly, very importantly, I have explained it before, here is how our plan is different to theirs. We came into government and we said universal health coverage will begin, and we are going to begin giving you services now. And what did we do? I have a fact sheet, I can give it to you. Thousands of St. Lucians have started to benefit from our new programs. 361 pregnant women have received free lab tests. That was not there before. 4,504 free ultrasounds. That was not there before. For men, 1,140 men have been screened. Okay? Prostate PSA tests, 1,044 free prostate PSA tests. That is where we are different to them. Because I can give you actual statistics. Breast cancer, and this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Our government, we have caused there to be 2 mammography machines in the hospitals in St. Lucia. One in St. Jude, one at OKEU. Mammography machines help with early diagnosis in breast cancer. Great tool. And we have the best one, the 3D mammography machines. You know what? We started in July. Between July and September of 2025, 178 women have had their mammograms, 28 breast ultrasounds. And we have had women whom we have sent for more specialized treatment. Cervical cancer screening, we have a new method. And we have seen over 4,780 women using this new method. 296 of the women needed additional diagnosis with new machines that we've purchased. And we have done 25 biopsies. What this means is that our way, our method of introducing universal health coverage has yielded tangible results, while the last government is still talking about a $75,000 card. We know that health financing is important, and we are working with consultants, the World Bank and private sector consultants, to come up with a package. And here is what the package will look like. We are going to have a universal health coverage authority. It's going to be a body, like, it's going to be a body which will have its own organization, its own HMIS systems, its health information systems, and the services, the payment for services will go through that body. We are going to cover, the government will cover all the essential package of health services in a basket of services, and we are going to engage insurance companies to cover the secondary level and tertiary level services. So it's a mixed model. It's a mixed model of financing. The government will finance a portion of it, and we are going to engage insurance companies so that if the government covers a lot of the basic services, you will entice the insurance companies to possibly have more competitive rates and deal with the more secondary cases, the surgeries, the overseas, and so on. We are very advanced. We have had consultations with St. Lucians from all walks of life, and our government will present this new method of health financing. So I wanted to speak to you on this just briefly and to tell you that I have the responses. But we know our system, our proposals are different to them. I say to you that their proposal is a bluff. Our proposal is actual work in action. The women and the people and the men who have had their free PSA tests, they are there. Snake bites, about 4 people have had free snake bite treatment because of universal health coverage. They are real St. Lucians who are receiving benefits, not the fake pie of the sky people of the 75,000 the opposition is talking about. Thank you very much.